Hello, my name's Andrew Burke. I'm the Chief Executive and Artistic Director of the London Sinfonietta. Welcome here to Hall 1 in King's Place for our world premiere Wednesday today. Our series is one of short solo commissions that we've placed for many years now, performed on a Wednesday, and we will be continuing these series throughout this season, this time broadcast live to the internet as we're doing now. And we're very happy to welcome you to this stream, either if you're watching live or if you pick it up afterwards on our channel. As it is live, and as we do have YouTube comments, please do post your questions as we go through. I'll do my best to pick them up and ask our artists what you want to know. Many people have supported this series over the years and not only donated to the Sinfonietta but also commissioned pieces. And today's piece by Robert Mitchell has been commissioned by Anthony Rawlinson, and we're very grateful to him. So I'm joined on stage here at King's Place by Robert Mitchell, the composer.
Hello, thanks for having us.
And also Clíodna Shanahan, our pianist, who's going to be performing these pieces. There are two of them today, a little bit later. So first of all, just wanted to introduce you to Robert, a pianist, composer, arranger and teacher, it says on your website, an alumnus of Quite Sane and Tomorrow's Warriors, a leader of his own groups Epiphany 3 and True Think, and a collaborator with the other major jazz creators working today. Robert, which of those titles, pianist, composer, arranger and teacher, do you enjoy the most?
Oh, the nice, easy one to start. I love them all. They cycle sometimes in very unpredictable ways. So it's a real honour to be able to do this and to be asked, this year of all the years. It's great to have this opportunity anytime, but particularly it's been wonderful to have a focus and a target. And as we're all trying to work out how we do the performing bit, especially kind of going forward. So it's been great over many years now. You talk about alumni of groups. I thought you were going to go into City University, Guildhall. There's all sorts, over the years from student days. But they take turns. So it's a blessing to go from one thing within the huge umbrella of what music can be, to another. In unpredictable ways. So this was great to be engaged in since when was I asked? March or February, I think. So I'm sport. Yeah,
fantastic. You, in some of your work that's very available on your website, but also in the conversations we've had, it's become clear that for you, music, and maybe jazz in particular, has a great power to stand for things and to say things, either through use of text, but also just in what the piece is about and what it's called. Yeah. You're quite engaged, therefore, in society through your music making. Can you tell us a bit about that and how you came to it, and your background and your upbringing and your father? And
yes, there was a lot of music in the house, and my dad used to sing professionally eventually. So there were pianists coming over to rehearse, and I was brought up on partially his love of some very famous figures like Harry Belafonte and Paul Robeson. And later on, as you read and you discover more, there's a multi-layered sense of how much the times and the things outside of music that they stood for were so important. So lots of political things and lots of work in civil rights as well. So the hero worship was very deep, stretching from obviously being very famous and very hugely talented in what they did as vocalists, but as important, if not more importantly, was what they stood for and what risks they took in order to make those stands. So as you get older, I'm a parent as well, and you are seeing world events and seeing things develop and go in very fraught, disparate, divisive directions. And given the history of jazz, to address and call into question all sorts of things that are making life difficult for huge sections of communities around the world, where it's Afro-American or the Asian community here, or so on and so forth. There's a number of ways in which through jazz history there have been these seminal pieces and composers. If I think of Mingus and Abbey Lincoln and Max Roach. So it's honouring the ability of this music to really call truth to power, speak truth to power, and engage and contribute to helping things improve, through the best means that we can. So I think that power is in such need, right now, and going forward, as we have elections in certain countries, but because of the coverage of news now, they have deep meaning everywhere. So we're all looking in, hoping for results that take society forward in general, not just one small segment, if you like. So.
One of the issues that we spoke about the other day,
Yeah.
which is affecting this country a lot, but in a kind of less overtly a political way, but more like in the upbringing of our children, is the lack of availability of music education in schools. And that's a theme which the Sinfonietta has been concerned with for many, many years, working in schools with teachers, with composers, and trying to advocate for the power of that education.
Yeah.
And you're engaged, like many parents are, who are concerned about that, in trying to provide that for your own children.
Yes, yeah. Our child has been, our daughter has been getting into the drums for a number of years now. So happy to see this flourish. And I am involved as a teacher for Merton Music Foundation, hello, and I've just started as a piano professor in the jazz department at Guildhall School of Music and Drama, so as well as privately. So I've been engaged for a number of years and really enjoy connecting at different levels of this music. And I've, because of my experience and early upbringing on the piano, being very, very, overtly classical for a number of years before getting into the jazz and the improvising. Yes, there's a spread of genres involved as well in what I teach. So the variety is really, it's great to take part in. At the same time, I'm of a generation as well that was able to benefit from free lessons in schools, and I know you will know how much that has been decimated over recent decades. I've done a lot of playing in places like the Isle of Wight, for example, as well, and it really is a shame seeing how various areas are lacking or have far less than average, access to what should be simply everywhere. I could go on much longer about, my travels to, various countries on tour over the years and seeing how different things are organised around the world. And, we definitely had a very competitive system up until a certain point. It's wonderful to see things like the Sistema from Venezuela gaining so much fame. But at the same time, my heart is sort of filled with sorrow because we did have something competitive and comparable, for a long time, and I hope this can be addressed, in the future, because it should be accessible to everybody. I was very lucky to be born and be living, in the house of my, my early years. Literally a minute away from the music teacher I studied piano from the start for a total of 12 years. And I grew up for a while believing this was just happening everywhere until you gain wider eyes and look around and interact in so many different ways as a life in music, provides, and see that it's not the case. So it's a real shame. And when I think of the amount of contribution that is made creatively from this aisle to the world of music, it still does seem like a crying shame, because for all the talent that we do know about, there's an awful lot that we don't, and that should be supported and should be allowed to flourish. So I hope that can improve as soon as possible.
We're with you very much on that sentiment. So let's turn to the piece that you've written. It's unusually, or less usually, it is a piece just for the left hand.
Yeah.
And this is an obsession of yours, is it? Is that?
Just a slight one. I am left-handed, but it's only relative recent years that I got into this, because there's a really fascinating and undersung history in both, of course, classical piano history and to an even smaller degree in jazz and improvised as well. So I did an album of this stuff a number of years ago, and I'm preparing another one, or maybe more than one, and I've lectured a bit about it as well. I thought, given the premise of the piece as well, being, if I can mention that now, if that's all right, a love story that developed over 25 years, that I think it's the path, its gradualness, if that's a word, did sort of remind me of the way that the left hand in piano history is sort of undersung, and it's provided some amazing music, really amazing music, and tons of incredible stories and history and connections that go through warfare, that go through neurodivergency, and simply the creative challenge itself. Getting more to flourish in a different way out of less. So I thought it was like a glimmer, like a very slow, gradual coming into the light, type of story, which I feel the music in this niche of a niche in the piano is still in the process of doing. So I like to align those two things and get back into, after a number of years, the writing of music from this viewpoint on the piano. So enjoyed and am enjoying the whole process.
Now we turn to the if you like, the challenge of delivering that. Pianists, of course, many pianists, of course, are used to playing with both hands, and they can fill out so much with that. But Clíodna, thank you so much for taking this piece on with us.
You're welcome.
And perhaps you can explain a little bit of the difference in playing just with your left hand.
Sure. Yeah. Well, I mean, as pianists, we're already used to dividing our hands into different sections, so we might play a big chord with both hands, but we're sort of voicing, to the middle of the right hand and to the bottom of the left hand. So we're used to doing that. But when we take away, sort of half of our resources, it becomes a different thing. But it's the music it should sound, if you turn away from the stream, you shouldn't be able to tell that I'm only using one hand. And that's the challenge, really. Robert has written this beautiful piece, and it's laid out in the conventional way on two staves, a treble clef stave on top of a bass clef stave, with voices, doing different things. And because we're only using one hand, the movements are quite different to what we would do with two hands. So, for example, you have a bass note and then you have a melody going on. So you have to make quite fast movements without that affecting the overall line of the piece. So if I sort of play a little bit of the beginning, and I'll just separate the elements out, if you don't mind, Robert.
Oh, great, go for it.
Just for demonstration. So you have this line on top that goes like this. And then you have some chords and some bass notes that are like this. And we have to play those together. And so the line should not be interrupted by the bass notes and vice versa. They should be independent. Which in two hands is a totally different prospect than doing it in one. But I love this, and the music is written so wonderfully for the left hand alone. It's all completely, let's say, idiomatic of that genre. But that's the major challenge, I think, is a physical, a motor one, rather than in a mind or a feeling one, because we're used to doing that kind of split attention as pianists all the time.
Excellent. One last word before we hear the piece. Robert, the title,
Yes.
Our Hearts Dance the Infinite, in brackets, as the giant Puya blooms. Can you tell us what a Puya is?
It's amazing. I'd advise everyone to go and have a look. Find a picture or three online. An amazing plant, incredible colour. Can be gigantic, and the wait for it to bloom is pretty long. 25 years. If not more sometimes. So I thought, again, it aligned really nicely with this story. And I hope their hearts do dance the infinite from now on, because it's a good it's taken a good effort to kind of get there. So it was beautiful. I don't know if brief is the right word, but certainly the description of what I was writing for was very evocative. So all the best to them. They know who they are.
Wonderful. So now we can enjoy the world premiere performance of Our Hearts Dance the Infinite as the Giant Puya Blooms by Robert Mitchell, performed by Clíodna Shanahan. Thank you. Clíodna, thank you so much. That was absolutely beautiful. How was it to finally perform it?
Oh, it's a pleasure. It's so beautiful. It's very. I'm quite emotional now, Robert. it's such beautiful music. Yeah. And you know, in this space, because of course I've just been practicing it at home in my flat, and we've had Zoom calls about it, you know, but to actually be able to perform it in a beautiful space like this, you know.
It's a tremendous acoustic in here, isn't it?
Yes,
For live music making, and hearing it, we all know what we're missing, as it were, in not being able to perform so easily live these days. It's a great tragedy, isn't it?
It is, but we've got our virtual audience, so we're very happy
Yes.
to just have you two on stage, have everyone at home.
Yes, and they're beginning to react already. Claire Dolding, truly beautiful. So we're getting people who really, really enjoyed what you played, and of course, Robert, your beautiful music.
Pleasure.
So a question from Claire herself: would the performance and nuances be different if it had been played by the right hand?
It's a great question. Yes, and there is an even smaller niche of a niche of a niche of right hand only. So what I would do, what I would say is urge you to go and look at a little tune by another maverick, CPE Bach, and it's Klavierstück in A. It's something I have used to start off various talks and lectures, so on and so forth. And it was a little thing, 36 bars, and he used it in his teaching. And the aim of it was to be played by either hand. So it's a little monophonic piece, but the idea is you wouldn't be able to tell. So in his view, I guess that's it was important not to hear a difference. But I think there would be, and there is some fascinating music out there for would you believe it, right hand only too. So next time.
Yes, absolutely.
Are you drawn to more left hand only pieces now you've done this one, or have you played any others before, like the Ravel Concerto?
Yeah, and there are various Scriabin pieces, and of course there's the Chacon arrangement and everything. Yeah, so I'm interested in it already. Yeah, as a genre, but I'm delighted. I've never played anything by a living composer for left hand alone, so that's great first.
And I expect once your left hand's been given a bit of a workout, returning to play with two hands, does it feel different, as if the left hand wants more to do?
Well, it's very luxurious, because you can suddenly I could just play this melody on its own in one hand. How nice.
Yeah.
But yeah, absolutely. It makes you think differently, which is what we need to be doing all the time as artists.
Yeah. Well, Robert, thank you so much for what you created for us.
Pleasure.
We hope
Thanks for
very
asking.
much the piece has a life, and I understand there'll be other performances. Are you going to play it live at some point?
Yes, I'm going to get my homework together soon. Am I allowed to say?
Of course you are. Yeah.
So yes, next will be a great Yuki Negishi, and on the cards as well, a wonderful Ivo de Grief and Ruth McGinley as well. So it's sprung out of the the starting gates, or whatever they call it. So yeah, looking forward to more, and to record it and document it, and it's really great to hear anything live right now. So thanks so much, Clíodna. Great job, and privilege, and wonderful to even build it into. Bring it into being through Zoom rehearsals. I mean, they weren't even a thing until
they were not.
recently. So there we are. But
Yeah.
great to do. Really enjoyed it. And
Many congratulations, and thanks again.
pleasure. Thanks, Andy. Thanks a lot.
Robert's going to stay with us, so if there are more questions you'd like to post, I'll make sure that we put them to him before the end of this session. And also thanks again to Anthony Rawlinson, whose support of that work has brought it into being. and he will be forever linked to it in its genesis. If you wanted to be associated with the piece yourself, you can easily sponsor. They cost £500 to make, and we'd be very happy to work with you to devise how you want it, what's it for, and to find the right fit between yourself and a composer. The Sinfonietta, of course, like many performing groups, has had to rely on the internet to reach audiences in this period, and much of our work has had to diminish in its volume and how many players we can use, and it's affecting the whole industry in a quite a tragic way, really. But we're excited to be here with you now. If you saw you could donate to the cause that we are one of many to keep alive, live performance, we'll make sure that your donation reaches the musicians who are less able to make music and less able to earn money at the moment. So please do join us, and we will help them. Now, we move on to the second part of this morning's presentation. We decided we usually do just one piece in our World Premiere Wednesdays when we're not doing them online, but we thought this is a chance to let the musician who's joined us make a choice of a work that they'd like to play in addition. And Clíodna, you've chosen a work by Jennifer Walsh, the Irish composer, vocalist, performer, regarded as one of the foremost and innovative composers working today, and the most remarkable in a way in her choice of how she produces music and the fact she performs it, its avant-garde style, its endless inventiveness. Can you explain how you came across this work?
Yes, so this work, so like Robert, I grew up in a house full of music, and actually this is from an album. So there's the Contemporary Music Centre in Ireland produces these piano albums every few years of new works by Irish composers for piano, and we always got them at home. And so they were part of my life from when I was, I don't know, maybe 11 or 12, these books. And so this is I think it's in the 2009 edition. This piece, and I came across it and I thought, oh, how fantastic, and totally unlike anything I'd ever seen before, at that point in my life.
Can you explain the concept? Because
yes.
It is a very original idea,
Yes.
and one that will provide lots of good listening for our audience because of how it's set out.
Yeah, that's right. So it's a piece of music that's made up of micro quotations from the piano repertoire. So by that I mean, tiny excerpts of pieces by Bach, Mozart, Grieg, Tchaikovsky, Jennifer Walsh herself, all the way up to Nirvana, Coldplay. The Doors is in there. I think The Doors is my favorite quote in this piece. So they're put against each other without pause. So it should come across very virtuosic, code switching without any preparation time. So you'll have half a bar of Mozart and then 2 bars of Beethoven, and then half a bar of Nirvana, and then 2 seconds of Satie, So it's this amazing thing. It goes along like that. The first section goes along like that, direct quotations. Then they start to get developed a bit. And the whole thing finishes with this big E major chord, which is a reference to the end of A Day in the Life by the Beatles. And so that starts to come in, this big E major chord towards the end, and it finishes on it. And it's held, she says, until the sound completely dies away. And now this is a big chord, 4 Fs fortissimo, on a Steinway Model D in King's Place Hall 1. So it's going to take probably 60 seconds or more.
Yeah, so if you see at the end that it's gone very quiet, that the internet hasn't frozen, we hope. It's just,
yes.
We'll be waiting here for the actual sound to have died away to nothing.
Exactly, we're waiting for all those gorgeous overtones to float off into the ether. But yeah, I think it's a wonderful piece, and it has some parallels. I think after I picked it, I thought, actually, some of the physical challenges of it are very similar to left hand alone playing, in that you have to very quickly shift into another mode. And actually the ending on an E, who knew? Just like Robert's piece. But it's fantastic. It's great fun as well. And in the comments, tell us which pieces you spotted, because there are several dozen different pieces in this piece.
Yep, so if you do recognise them, don't be shy, post them in the comments section of the YouTube and we'll see how many are spotted by the end of it.
Exactly, and whoever guesses the most gets eternal glory.
Yes, that's all we can promise today, I'm afraid, but that's not a bad thing to aim for. Clíodna, thanks so much for the introduction. And the piece is called Becca by Jennifer Walsh. Thank you very much. Bravo, Clíodna. That's a tour de force. And really interesting listening to it and being so close to it, which isn't a privilege, but the mix of memories and emotions that everybody would have listening to that, because they all associate, people who are into this repertoire will recognise so many different quotes there that maybe all of them, or maybe most of them, maybe some of them, but each one of those pieces has a sort of an emotional tug that will mean different things to different people. So you must be exhausted at the end of it. But emotionally, I mean, is that right?
Emotionally exhausted, yeah, absolutely, you're right, yeah. You know, bits of hammer clavier, you know, in there, which are totally devastating. I mean, any bit of the hammer clavier is devastating, but just a tiny snippet of it just shocks you. Even the sort of extended riff on the Tchaikovsky piano concerto, you know, the way it builds up, just increasing by a semitone each time. It's amazing effect it has on you. Powerful, very powerful.
And Robert's still with us, which is wonderful. Quotations and references to pieces that preceded it are a big thing in jazz, of course. It's almost it's one of the things you do, isn't it? You quote.
Oh yeah. Reminded me of so many things, but just as a shout out to an absolute legend who, with recent sad news, I mean, I don't know if he's going to be forever not playing any longer, but that I'm referring to the great Keith Jarrett. So having attended a number of gigs, but there was one in particular which we attended, which was it's a trio gig. We were right at the back of the Royal Festival Hall, and we've heard the opening notes. It's either of Somewhere Over the Rainbow or When I Fall in Love. It was one of those two. And it was literally 4 notes before there was a beautiful ripple of applause.
Yes.
That was a micro. I mean, he played the whole thing, obviously, but it was just all people needed to be ready, you know, seatbelts on, let's get ready for where we're going to be taking now on this amazing, you know, this amazing journey as it always was. Even if it was one tune played over decades and decades, there was always something new to be found. But yes, the power of quoting in the middle of another context as well sometimes can completely, you know, floor or completely, you know, engage people on another level to say numerous things at the same time. But yes, I loved all of that, and it reminded me of some sort of sampling going on at different rates at the end. It was like an argument between two sides of a record, or two people who wanted to, you know, put on the music and are disagreeing about where it actually is the most effective type thing. So brilliantly constructed, and fantastic.
When you're improvising as a jazz pianist, do you prepare those in the middle of improvisation? Do you think about what you're going to do before, or is it just these references and quotes just come?
It can be a mixture, you know, because as much as you want and you think, okay, this is going to happen, then it may not, but at the same time, something else can creep in. You know, a mistake opens up other possibilities. You think, wow, or I can add to that varying differences in pianos. Clearly, I'll have loads to say on this, but some of the worst, you know, instruments I've had experiences on have opened up completely different pathways because, you know, certain strings are dead or certain hammers are doing certain things at different registers in the piano, and you go with that and create, given those are now the strengths of the instrument you have. So, I prefer, in a way, the unthinking. You've done so much in terms of preparation that you can come out and be happy that you have a blank page. I mean, I've even had the experience of recording a sort of live solo thing a couple of years ago, which was 80-90% improvised, and one song to cap it off as a safety net in case it didn't go to plan. But I really enjoyed, you know, being on the tightrope, or, you know, jumping off the ledge type thing to see what can happen in the pure space of creating in the moment. So yes, they're great when they happen. It's still a great thing to partake in, even if it doesn't. But their power is definitely undeniable, and a great unifier, great you know, like a key or an Easter egg they have in films, all that kind of thing. It's a great thing to be able to drop at will, and many of the great heroes and sheroes, if you like, have been amazingly fluent at this kind of powerful path.
Yeah.
Option, rather, I should say.
Now, returning to our YouTube live chat, Liz Davis says of your piece, that was lovely. Rob Davis says, extraordinary playing from Clíodna Shanahan, of a truly beautiful piece. So again, referring back to your work, thanks so much. And then lots of people joining in with the spotting of references and quotes. Rob Davis, Light My Fire by the Doors. That was in there.
For sure.
Fantasy in D minor by Mozart, Rob again. Furley's, The Entertainer. Rob, you're on fire. Natalie, Scott Joplin. Grieg. Was that a moment of a Liszt Hungarian Rhapsody in there?
Yes.
There we are. It's a point for Natalie again on that one.
Yeah.
Fran says, amazing. Well done, Clíodna. Brilliant. Bravo, Clíodna. Well done. And Rob spotted, amazing how long that last note endured, even at home through a computer speaker.
Oh, great.
So we delivered, or you delivered. The piano delivered, King's Place delivered. Adam on technology, you can't see him, but he's out of shot. He delivered too.
Yes. Jennifer Walsh delivered.
And Jennifer Walsh absolutely more than delivered. And to her, we're very grateful for letting us play the piece. Thank you, Jennifer. Robert, thank you so much for your commission and for being here. Anthony, again, thank you so much for commissioning the work and supporting it. Clíodna, brilliant playing. It's really great to be close to such artistry, and an honour to be here. And thank you to you for logging in, and if you're watching afterwards, thank you for checking it out. Do think about donating if you can to the Sinfonietta. Any small amount below this screen, you'll see there's ways to do that, either by going to our website or just by doing a text donate. And we promise to recycle all your donations for the cause of musicians and for live music making right at this difficult time. If you want to follow more of our videos, you can subscribe by clicking the red button in the corner of the screen. Better still, sign up to our email, and that means we can really talk to you about what's coming up next, which is either the next of these live streams or one of the programs we put up on our London Sinfonietta channel, or eventually one day, wouldn't it be wonderful, coming back to a live event to share in the brilliance of our musicians and the inspiration of our composers, Robert and Jennifer being the two on show today. So thank you so much for joining us today. Here in King's Place, we're grateful to them for letting us use their venue, and we hope very much you'll tune in to what we do next. And until then, of course, stay well. Thanks. Bye.